Jasmine Crash Out Crockett is throwing a whole fit. A whole entire government funded, eyelash flicking, synthetic wig whipping, temper tantrum on the House floor because the legal redistricting in Texas, y'all, they might actually send her back to where she came from. Listen, I'm here. I am here for all of this because neither Congress nor the culture needs any more of the race baiting foolishness of Jasmine Crockett. It is time that we need to examine her claims of racism. You know, she talks about it all the time, and talk about the truth of why she's really mad. Let's get into this. You guys, welcome to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman, and welcome to today's show. Today, I want to talk about the walking, talking meltdown that is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and the glorious conservative chess move that's got her sweating under them stage lights like she over there preaching at Pollard's house with Sarah Jakes Roberts. So here's the scoop. Texas Republicans are doing what voters elected them to do. They are wielding the power that they have, and they are redrawing the lines, literally. What you have to understand is after the 2020 census and a legal opening in state law, Texas is going through what's called mid-decade redistricting, and it's wonderful. I mean, it is absolutely glorious. They are about to flip 5 blue seats red, and guess who's on the chopping block? Y'all guessed it, yes! Miss Lashes and Loudmouth herself, Jasmine Crockett. She is on the chopping block because the new map, it literally draws her out of her own district. Oops, I'm sorry. Did we do that? Was that on purpose, or is that just the way that the population has been distributed? Well, I'm inclined to believe that this is actually a correction of what's been wrong with the way that these maps are drawn in these really weird, irregular ways, but we're going to talk about that. But the thing is, what is Jasmine's response? Not humility, not, let me think back and do some introspection to see if could any of this have been my fault. No, her default response is Democrat panic mode. Just, cry racism, yell voter suppression, never come with a new strategy or policies that will actually win over people, but just the same as we always expect from her, which is cries of racism and victimhood. Here's the thing, though. The only thing being suppressed is her delusion that she's untouchable. So the Republicans in Texas, they are playing chess. While the Democrats, like Crockett, they are busy coloring with crayons and blaming racism for every lost game. Oh, and doing their usual grandstanding by attempting to avoid the vote on the House floor by doing like they always do, run from actual legislation and work. They are running to DC as a sign of protest. But that too is going to backfire on them as well. Now, let me tell you who brought the heat. Katrina Pierson, she's a Texas conservative and a former Trump advisor. When you watch this, I'm going to call her the certified queen of calm clapbacks. She showed up to this redistricting hearing and literally body snatched Jasmine Crockett with just a few well-placed questions. She didn't get emotional. She wasn't yelling. It was a beautiful masterclass in how to handle the orangutan class. So Crockett, in response, she walked right into the trap. Take a look at this clip.
First of all, it is a sham that we sit here and y'all pretend as if you care about what the people have to say, but we are going to make y'all listen as long as you will. This map does nothing but divide, distract, and depress. There is this idea that was put out there during his opening remarks that this does so much for Black folk. Well, let me tell you, as a Black person, it does not. Let me tell you that in this map, to be clear, y'all added two additional Anglo majority seats. Now, when we went through the 21 maps, you added 2 Anglo majority seats, and now you're adding 2 more Anglo majority seats, and then you've decided that you are going to pack and crack, and that is the language that I am going to use because that is the legal language. And I also just want to remind y'all really quickly that it does not look good when you take every economic engine out of my district and then tell me that I am supposed to sit here and be so happy because you added Black folk from a whole other community. When you want to talk about monoliths and whether or not they exist, this idea that you just take people and move them around. I have 200,000 people who were never in my district, and my district is 766,000. Playing move minorities around so that you can somehow claim that this is nothing but partisanship. The only way that you get here is by making sure that you trample upon the rights and the liberties and the voices of minorities. So let me give you a few facts about the state of Texas. The state of Texas only has 39% Anglos, yet somehow under this map, we are going to have somewhere near 60-something, almost 70% of these seats are gonna be chosen by Anglos. If we were looking for fairness and to follow the Voting Rights Act, you'd have 15 Latino opportunity seats, 15 Anglo seats. You then have 4 African-American opportunity seats. Then you'd have 2 Asian opportunity seats, and the other 2 seats would belong to coalitions because we are a majority-minority state where over 60% of this population is people of color. So if you want to do what's fair and right under the Voting Rights Act, as well as if you say that this Fifth Circuit Court case matters and somehow changes everything, my question to you is, when are y'all gonna do y'all's maps? Because you did your maps in 2021 and then the case came out, and I haven't seen y'all talk about the fact that you're gonna redistrict the House and the Senate.
Representative Pierson, you recognize the question of the panel.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is for Congresswoman Crockett. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts on the map. I hear you, I understand. But you did mention something in your testimony that I think is worth drawing out a little bit on. You mentioned previously the 2 Anglo seats from before.
Yes.
Who are currently in those seats?
One of them is Lloyd Doggett, and the other one is Wesley Hunt.
And does that mean one is a Democrat seat and one is a Republican seat?
Correct.
Okay. So the Democrat seat elected a white man.
Yes.
And the Republican seat elected a Black man.
Yes.
Okay. And then so today you're concerned about the new Anglo seats, and the assumption that you're making is that it's going to lead to more Anglo representation.
It is. Okay. Because so to be clear, because I may have not been clear, these seats are not about who gets elected. They're about who gets to choose who is elected. And so, my district, while it is an African-American opportunity seat, it is an opportunity for African-Americans to choose their representation. But they don't have to elect a Black person. We have a similar seat in Memphis, Tennessee, that historically was always represented by the Ford family. Harold Ford Sr. and Harold Ford Jr. had it, but now it is a white man that is representing that Black seat. So it's not about the faces of the seats. It's about who gets to choose who's in the seat. And that doesn't mean that they're going to choose their own race. As you see, 2 Anglo majority seats, one went for a white candidate, one went for a Black candidate. It's not about us as candidates. It's about the people that get to do the choosing.
Well, I would argue that based on the testimony that we've heard over the last week or so, it's both. We're hearing racism all over the place. We're hearing people want to choose people who look like them, which apparently has been happening. And I just wanted to make it clear that, something that has not been said yet is that there are minority Republicans. I mean, there is a Black and Hispanic Republican on the dais. And so I just don't think it's fair to just assume that the Anglo districts are going to lead to more Anglo representation.
Those
were your words, so I'm just...
Again, I apologize if that is how it was interpreted. But my clarification is that when we're talking about the law and the Voting Rights Act, it's never been based upon who it is that gets elected. It's based upon who it is that gets to choose who is elected.
And so on that note, with these new lines, political performance was taken in consideration.
That is what we've heard from the bill author, yes.
And in previous hearings, I mentioned specifically that in the state of Texas, President Trump did win a majority of the Hispanic voters in the state. And just to broaden that even further, those are the numbers. President Trump did win the majority of the Hispanic votes in the state. In fact, he flipped, I believe it was 10 counties in the state. So don't you think that is reflective of this map, this proposed map, that the minorities who are here with the new minority districts that have been created, it is reflective?
No, Representative, I don't.
And so you don't agree with the new minority Hispanic seats? Because
I don't agree with this map.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Did y'all hear that? Jasmine basically admitted that this whole thing is not about who gets elected. It's about who gets to do the choosing. She is mad that the new map means that she might not be chosen anymore. You cannot make this up. This public servant is upset that she may possibly not be chosen based on the fair and equitable distribution and redistribution of this map. You cannot make this up. This woman literally admitted on record that she wants to make sure that Black folks are the only ones choosing in her district, not because it's just or fair, but because it keeps her seat safe. So in this clip, what you're able to see, and I couldn't show the whole thing because the hearing between Jasmine Crockett going back and forth and showing out was well over 30 minutes. But the main argument is that she doesn't realize she's saying this. Katrina Pierson pointed out that you claim that these two Anglo seats are only going to yield white representation. Yet in this circumstance, you had a Black person who was a Republican who was elected by Anglos, and then you had a white person who was a Democrat who was elected by the Blacks. And so the idea that if we keep all of the maps drawn to where all of the Black people are corralled together, Jasmine is banking on the assumption that those Black people are going to vote for Democrats. At this point, it's not, she's using race as the issue, but the assumption is that they can manipulate the narrative so that Black folks will continue to vote for Democrats, whether it's Black ones or white ones. And as long as Blacks keep voting for Democrats, we'll be okay. And so this is why they don't want the maps to be redrawn, because they assume that if they keep the people all in this one area, that they're all going to vote Democrat. But what this is showing is that Black people and minorities are not necessarily voting Democrat. And the fact that we should not be grouping them together on the basis of ethnicity, but just let people vote however the heck they want to vote. But Democrats can't do that, because if the public was allowed to just vote for whoever we wanted, regardless of ethnic distinctions, eventually over time, as we are starting to see, less and less people are going to vote for Democrats. And so the point that Katrina Pierson is making is that you can't assume that us redrawing the map is going to yield more white representation, because in the example given, it was the obvious. It was based on partisanship and not ethnicity. But see, Jasmine can only think in terms of categories and constructs such as race and gender and sexuality. That those are the only categories that make sense to her. And so if these lines are redrawn, there is a very high chance that she will lose her seat. Cro-Magnon man, what's his name? Oh gosh, I can't figure out his name right now. The one that looks like that he came from the caveman times. yeah, he's going to lose his seat possibly because people are done with this ideology and they're done with these ineffective lawmakers who all they want to do is grandstand and cry victimhood and racism and bigotry, and they don't pass any meaningful legislation, and their districts continue to be at the bottom with poor results and bad schools and high crime. So Democrats, they're not mad that redistricting is unfair. That's not it. They're mad because it's no longer unfair in their favor. Do you see how this works now? States like California, Maryland, Illinois, and Massachusetts are some of the most heavily gerrymandered in the country. Now, you may have heard that term thrown around a lot, but a lot of people are like, ma'am, what is gerrymandering? So let me break it down to you and explain it very, very simply. Gerrymandering is when politicians play connect the dots with the voting maps, and they do it to rig the game in their favor. That's what it is. So instead of voters picking their politicians are picking their voters. It's kind of like your cousin cheating at Monopoly and moving the pieces around the board so that she always wins even when she's losing. Democrats have been the grandmasters of this game for decades. They slice up communities, especially Black ones, into these funky looking districts that guarantee that a Democrat keeps the seat, not because the people are being served, but because the lines were drawn to secure power. So when Jasmine Crockett cries foul over Texas Republicans doing this, she's not mad about gerrymandering. She's mad that she's finally getting beat at her own rigged game. And here's the bigger picture. Democrats, they are crashing out because their entire survival strategy depends on locking in majority Black districts. I told y'all Democrats love segregation. Did you think that changed? Democrats love segregation. They don't just want the Black vote. They need 90% of it every election cycle. Every 4 years in the midterms, you name it, they need it. Anything less, and their entire power structure, it starts to crumble. And so this is why they fight redistricting like it's a holy war, because for them it is. Like if they lose these districts, it's political homicide. And trust me, if Democrats believe that they could win these elections without the rigged racist districts, they wouldn't be screaming like banshees at every redraw. But they can't. They can't because they're unpopular, their policies are unpopular, their districts are trash, and people are waking up to it because people like me, Vince Everett Ellison, Black conservative perspective, all of these content creators and lay people alike are now sounding the alarm and telling Black people the truth about you do realize that these Black Democrats are masters looking for slaves, and they treat you and you've been acting like slaves looking for masters. Too many Black and Hispanic voters are waking up now, and they're leaving the plantation. So guess what? The GOP would not be targeting these areas if the data didn't show real traction. The GOP has looked at these maps. They saw how the gains that Donald Trump made in this last election, they saw the gains that he made in 2020, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute now, look at here. I think we have some opportunities here because this community that we've always said was a monolith doesn't seem to be so monolithic after all. So this is why the left is panicking, because for the first time in decades, the math ain't mathing and the master's whip ain't working anymore. So the GOP ain't mad at them. They are chomping at the bit, and it makes sense. So let's go a little bit deeper. We can go even deeper, and we will see that the Democrats didn't just lose seats. They lost the script, okay? They've realized that putting loud, race-baiting characters like Jasmine Crockett at the forefront of their party is backfiring. Nobody wants it. Now, at first, they thought that a cosplaying hoodrat in a congressional seat would energize the base. Like, oh, let's get the orangutans riled up. But black folks, believe it or not, real black folks, they are rejecting that orangutan foolishness. And because we know better and we want better for ourselves, we're like, yeah, that's going to be a no for me. We want order, not chaos. We're like, you know what? We want some dignity, not all this division. And more importantly, we want representatives who actually solve problems, not go viral for yelling and being combative on CNN. Too many of our black men are familiar with that in their baby mamas, and too many of us black women are sick and tired of being represented by individuals who act like this. So the black fatigue is all the way around. But even the border scheme that the Democrats implemented, even that is flopping, y'all. They opened it up really, really wide, letting all these illegals in, thinking that they could import new voters. But the legal immigrants are getting jobs, they're buying homes, and they are realizing that the Democrat Party doesn't offer them freedom. It offers them food stamps and drag queen story hour. And Hispanics are like, we don't want that mess. That is completely incompatible with our culture. So now the panic is at a fever pitch because the plantation is burning down, like the embers, like it's looking real bad. The plantation's burning down and the slaves are walking free, and not just walking free, but now so many of us are functioning in our freedom. And it's a beautiful sight to see. Now listen, I know that this is politics, but because my politics are informed by my worldview, let me give y'all a quick little biblical lens on this. Proverbs 29:2 says that when the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. And honey, listen, the people, they have been groaning under the weight of these wicked rulers, and people are tired. So let this be a reminder. God is not mocked. The systems that exalt wickedness will fall. The gates of hell will not prevail against the church, not even if the Democrat Party tries to redraw those gates with a Sharpie. Okay? And so with that, before I go, I do want to hear from you guys. I want to know, do you believe that this redistricting is racist, or is it righteous? Are Republicans just playing smart political chess, or are they really doing what Democrats have done for decades, and that the Democrats are crime foul? And what do you think? What do you think about my take that Democrats have always been the party of masters looking for slaves? I mean, if we just look at the trajectory of their history from the party's inception up until now, not much has changed. But I do want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I can't reply to them all, but I do read many of them. And also, if you want to support the work that I'm doing here and get exclusive behind the scenes content and deeper commentary and just stuff that I can't post here on YouTube, I want you to join me over on Patreon. The link to my Patreon is down in the box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.